response to piracy requires the presence of effective governance in Somalia that will provide basic services to its people and guarantee their rights. This is a daunting but unavoidable task, for it will enable Somalia to effectively address and ultimately defeat piracy. This leads to the second point that I wish to emphasize. State building and inclusive governance efforts in Somalia must be led and owned by Somalis themselves. While counter-piracy measures continue to prove effective, the international community must continue to support the Somali government in its efforts to deliver on its commitments outlined in Vision 2016 and the Somali Compact. This will require concentrated and coordinated assistance to Somalia to build its institutional capacity, to undertake effective law enforcement, and promote inclusive and sustainable development. As the United Nations helps strengthen the capacity of Somalia and other states in the region to prosecute individuals suspected of piracy and to sanction those convicted in accordance with international standards, it is imperative that more nations criminalize piracy on the basis of international laws as reflected in the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. They must also take steps to deter and suppress the financing of piracy and the laundering of piracy money. Madam President, we should not forget that actions by any one state to apprehend and prosecute pirates will benefit all states whose vessels, trade, and seafarers are at risk. If the burden of prosecuting pirates is shouldered only by states that apprehend them, then countries may be reluctant to act, especially if pirates do not target the apprehending country's vessels. And in this regard, we welcome the increased willingness of many of Somalia's neighbors to prosecute individuals suspected of piracy. It is equally critical that the international community continues to support Somalia and its neighbors in their efforts of sharing the burden of piracy prosecutions. We strongly encourage the international community to support regional efforts to implement the 2050 Africa's Integrated Maritime Strategy, the 2050 AIM strategy, adopted by the African Union, the Djibouti Code of Conduct, the maritime initiatives of the International Governmental Authority for Development, IGAD, and the Maritime Security Strategy of the Southern African Development Community, SADC, so that countries in the region bordering the Gulf of Aden and Western Indian Ocean develop their capacity to address piracy and develop their maritime domain. Somali pirates are still holding 37 seafarers, which is a matter of serious international concern. It is crucial that all efforts are made to secure the safe and prompt release of all hostages. Of equal importance is the need to have post-release measures in place to guarantee their health and their well-being. Our successful efforts to combat piracy off the coast of Somalia show that hard work and effective collaboration with a solution-oriented approach can yield results. Let me conclude by reiterating that counter-piracy efforts should be an integral part of Somalia's state-building process. The international community should continue to address piracy across broader fronts, addressing institutional failures and building capacity. Thank you, Madam President.
Doy las gracias al señor Feldman por la información que ha proporcionado. Invito ahora a los miembros del Consejo a celebrar consultas oficiosas para proseguir el examen del tema. Se levanta la sesión.